Hurry is the enemy of peace. It's the enemy of joy. It's the enemy of growth. Being distracted prevents you from growing. It prevents you from becoming a better person. This is true even in your workouts. How many of you go on your phone in between sets, distract yourselves while you're trying to work out? Did you know that studies show that if you focus and think about the muscle that you're training, you actually activate more muscle fibers? Being present is very important for the joy of life, but it's also important for results. So stop distracting yourself. Create time where you have no distractions so you can contemplate things. It makes a big difference.
Look at you. We were just talking about this, weren't we?
Yeah, we were.
About being busy and just our overall attitude sometimes, like, and how we treat, let's say, family members or coworkers or whatever, and you're just like really snappy and like your energy's totally different
when you're rushed.
When you're rushed and versus when you're present and really kind of being there in a calm state.
Yeah, it's funny is that I love a long time ago when I interviewed Bishop Barron when we were down in Santa Barbara, I asked him about different religions. So Bishop Barron's a Catholic bishop, and he said there's definitely something known as spiritual truth, right? Spiritual truths you'll find across the board in spiritual practices. So even though they may disagree on who God is and all that stuff, you'll see these kind of commonalities across them. And one of them is the idea of being present, the idea of, being in the moment. That's where you find joy. You see this echoed in, Judaism, in Christianity, Islam, and you see this in Buddhism. You'll hear this in people who are not religious. These are people who are mindfulness experts. They talk about being present. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually reading a book right now that talks about this. And he used this great example. It said, imagine you're trying to get out of the house with your 2 kids and your wife because you're going to go somewhere to enjoy your kids and your wife, but you're getting out of the house and you can't be late. Mm-hmm. How are you treating those people? How are you treating your kids and your wife? And it really resonated with me. It's like, yeah, you can't be joyful, you can't be happy because you're rushed. And in this book, it makes the argument that we're constantly busy, we're constantly rushed. Everything is about going faster and faster, about moving to the next thing. It's not about what you're doing now. It's about what you're going to do. And I think about when people eat even, when people binge, that's one of the characteristics of it. It's thinking about the bite that's not in your mouth yet. That's why people eat so quickly. And they've actually shown this in studies that the faster you eat, the more calories you consume. It's about not being present. Mindfulness with diets works. When people practice mindfulness with their diets, there's a reduction in calories automatically just from being present. And, I thought about this today at the gym. I was working out, and you'll be hard pressed to find a person today who's not on their phone in between sets, who's not using that space as a way to move away from what they're doing there in the moment, which is I'm training my body, I'm squatting, I'm pressing, I'm whatever, versus, what some of the old school strength athletes would say, which is in between sets, you visualize the biceps growing. Arnold used to say this, or you think about the exercise, or you think about creating tension where you want. And like I said earlier, studies show that you activate more muscle fibers when you do this.
Yeah. I mean, you see that even when you don't listen to your body's natural signals, and when you felt little twinges or restrictions or, little hints of pain and again, that time in the rest period to kind of reflect on that. And maybe it was the biomechanics, maybe it was technique, maybe it was you pressed the weight a little bit too much, maybe you just weren't as intentional while you were performing the lift. And that's a valuable time for you to kind of reflect and then approach the next set and have that data to then apply and kind of make those micro adjustments.
Totally. It's funny too, as trainers, we can tell, I know you can, Justin, can you tell when someone's lifting with a present mind versus when you see those people in the gym who are just getting through the reps?
Oh yeah.
It looks, first off, circuit training looks like this. Typically people who are doing circuit training, they're not training mindfully. It's like
they're trying to get to the end.
Yes.
It's like the workout is point A to point B.
Yes.
And they have to get there.
Yes.
And that's it.
It's not nearly as effective. Their technique isn't as good. Again, studies show less muscle fibers are activated. I bet, of course, risk of injury is higher. One of the reasons why I like strength training, heavy strength training, is you kind of have to be present when you're heavy strength training because otherwise you are going to hurt yourself. So you have to be very, intentional about what you're doing. But this is really important, especially today, because we fill every quiet space with distraction. In fact, we use distractions to distract ourselves from distractions. It's like a never-ending, spiral. When you read about modern hunter-gatherers, by the way, I mean, when I wrote The Resistance Train Revolution, I read about the Hadza tribe because there was that whole study about metabolism. But you know what else you read in those studies is that modern hunter-gatherers, although they're more active than the average person, obviously, they have long periods of inactivity, but they don't have electronics. And oftentimes what they do is they sit in a squat, which is kind of cool, right? Sitting in a squat, but they contemplate. So they'll sit and look out and think and contemplate. And how many of us fail to do that on a daily basis? We don't even stand in line anymore without being distracted.
Yeah.
And what signs and signals are you not getting or disconnecting from because you're distracting yourself so much with media? Or
how much are we robbing potential innovations, potential problem solving, just taking into account a lot of your own behaviors and actions, and that self-reflective time is something that we don't value it the same anymore. We're just presenting ourselves with all of these other external factors. It's like, this is our value system, is the productivity. And productivity is this external productivity. It's for everybody else, and it's really, you personally have to create that amongst yourself. You have to protect that
totally.
At all costs.
It's funny too. It's like, people will talk about like, God, how were the ancient people, how do they get so accurate with astrology? Like they could predict where the stars would be. They could predict, things in the sky. And the reason why is because they laid there and watched, and they studied, and they were present, and you can get a lot done with that. I mean, one of my favorite examples is like in prisons. I remember we had this cop come to my school once when I was, I think it was in junior high, and he came and talked to us about what it's like in prison, and he brought all these weapons and all these ways that people smuggle things in.
Yeah.
And he said to us, he goes, you get a bunch of dudes with nothing to do all day long but think about ways to hurt each other or smuggle things in, and they come up with some pretty ingenious methods. Yeah. And of course, you're not even you're dealing with people who typically, don't have the highest IQ or don't have all the education, yet they're sitting there quietly contemplating, thinking of ways to do this. Yeah. Pretty brilliant,
trying to survive and figure it out. The stakes are high.
So, like, how much are we missing because we're distracted constantly? Because we're always distracting ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think about this too with just with our health. When you eat mindfully, I mean, the studies show this. If you don't eat in front of a TV, computer, or your phone, you'll probably eat about 10 to 15% less calories consistently across the board. So, hey, you want to cut your calories? Instead of trying to eat less, just don't eat while you're distracted. And then you'll end up doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Because you're just being present. And then, of course, with your workouts, you said something that is like nail on the head, that when you contemplate and you wait and you think, you can adjust your workouts, because those micro adjustments, people know it's a big deal. Okay, you added a rep here, took a rep away there, change your technique a little bit. Those micro adjustments right now don't seem that big, but you extend that out over 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever. You take two parallel lines, you separate them by a degree, you extend them out by 5 miles, they're super far apart. Yeah. Those little changes make a tremendous difference, but you'd miss them because you're just not paying attention.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to me that people would look at working out differently than they would what they're doing for work. In the sense that, aren't you always trying to be more effective and more efficient at what you do? And I just look at that, like, obviously with like skills or like blue collar type jobs where I was like working construction, it's like you see mastery of skill, and you see how just the slightest little technique, holding, like, let's say holding a nail and holding the hammer, and then figuring out the right angle and then the right approach, and you just keep practicing and keep refining.
Now apply that to
you
exercise.
Literally just do, and boom, and you're efficient, you're effective, your time decreases substantially in terms of like finishing and completion of the job. And yeah, so to be able to, like, you're in the gym, you're doing work. Obviously it's benefiting you and your body physically. So, you have to kind of like approach it a little bit differently, like not think of it as work. But that's work too, is to be able to start learning to enjoy and like get into the nuance of it.
Yeah. How you do the reps is more important than how many reps you do. That's a fact right there. How you do them is much more important. And what you're doing in the rest period is also not a waste of time. And so checking in with so I find myself, I fall prey to this. I'm on my phone in between sets. So now what I'm starting to do, and I've done this on and off, and every time I do it, I'm like, man, I got to do this more often. I put my phone down on the floor and I sit in between sets and I think about what I just did. Where do I feel it? What's going on? My workouts are always better. They're always so much better when I do that.
Oh, so, yeah. And then, like you said, lifting heavy. This is always something. Yeah, we're always trying to kind of paint that picture for people. Like, this is a different shift of intention completely than what you were doing before, just trying to burn calories.
That's right.
So yeah, it requires that. I mean, in order to move forward.
Totally. Today's program giveaway is Maps Strong. To enter to win, leave a comment below this video in the first 24 hours that we drop it. Subscribe to this channel and then turn on notifications. If you win, we'll let you know in the comments section. Also, this month's sale, Maps 15, half off. The bikini bundle of workout programs, half off. And the shredded summer bundle of programs is also half off. If you're interested, just click on the link at the top of the description below. All right, here comes the show. All right, so again, we're doing another episode without Adam. He's still out due to family emergency, some scary stuff, but we think everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So we miss having him here.
Coming through it. Yeah, we've been praying for him, and his family's, making it through. So.
Yeah, so he's okay. He's not the one affected, but his family's affected. And so it's a kind of a scary time. So we were just with him earlier, and he really wanted to be here, but we're like, no, dude, go handle and be with your family. And we'll give you more details when Adam comes back on the show and kind of talks about kind of what's going on. But we miss him. And it's funny, we were joking around, the audience might not know this, but Adam is such a business guy, right? So he messages me last night, jokingly, and he goes, I hope the episode does well, or hope it sucks because he's not on the show or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I said, I hope it sucks too, because if it crushes without you, I know what you're going to say. This is totally Adam. He would say this 100%. Cool. Episode does better without me. I'm out of here. I'm going to go do all
your investments.
I'll go do the investment stuff. You guys do the podcast. And he replies back, facts. Like, all right, bro.
Yeah.
Such a dick. It's so true, right?
For sure.
I know. So, but anyway, not having him is like, it's kind of weird,
Yeah.
Just the two of us. But hey, we can go crazy with conspiracy theories. I know Doug earlier was worried.
Yeah, I'm like,
too far with that.
Let's go full satanic cult, pedophile ring. Let's like let it all out there on the table and get people aware.
We don't need to get crazy though, Doug, because
reality is even more crazy.
Listen.
It's already out there anyways.
Listen, is this true? I need someone to look this up. So Mexico had an election, first female president, if I'm not mistaken. Leading up to this election, I need to know if this is true. 30 candidates were assassinated. Is that true?
That's nuts, dude.
Look that up if that's true. It's like candidates assassinated leading up to Mexican presidential election.
Yeah.
And then there were like something like 70 were threatened.
And what were they running as? Like, what was their party? Because the one that they elected is,
I think she's
a socialist.
I don't know if that's a socialist party, but that's kind of really.
So, first female president following deadliest election campaign in country's modern history. 37 candidates assassinated.
Oh my God.
What?
That's just crazy.
Unreal.
What? So how can you? Okay. All right. How do you trust who won? It kind of feels like that's the person they let win.
Exactly.
Is that a real election?
There's no way.
37? So this is like this has got to be cartel stuff, right? They're running the show. Type of deal?
Yeah, cartel.
Oh, so what do you think? So we got to watch and see what her
I'm with you, Doug. I think it goes a little further than that.
No, dude.
It goes more deep than that.
No. So we got to see her policies, right?
We started, Doug.
What if her policies come out and she loosens up the laws on the drug trafficking and stuff like her policies will tell us a lot, right? On what's going on.
Absolutely.
37?
Yeah,
That really takes some
she
bravery
has to
to
be
run.
a team player on some level with whatever agenda is sort of backing it.
That's crazy. Could you imagine if something like that happened here? I mean, all
No.
they did was try to throw our candidate in jail.
I know, or yeah,
What, right?
right. Over,
You know?
yeah, which again, yeah, was a whole thing. I mean, so where are we at? Like November is
Yeah.
the election.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna have to go through a lot more of this
Oh, it's going to get stupid.
fun stuff.
I'm not right. I'm so
leading
I
up
hate
to
it.
that point.
You know what it's becoming? Every election year, or do you guys feel this? Do you feel stressed out going into it? Do you
Yeah.
feel anxious and stressed out?
Did you ever feel that way? Like, let's say, I don't know, 10 years ago?
No. It
It's-
got worse and worse. Where like election year is always something crazy happens with riots, some weird shit happens. There's lots of division. People are hating each other, and it seems probably because of media, like it's getting worse and worse. Dude, we watched a short documentary. Were you in here? We watched a documentary on Operation Mockingbird. Were you in
Yeah.
here?
Oh, yeah. I did see it.
So Adam can't defend himself, which is good because he made the argument that he thinks it's worse today than it was before.
Yeah. Let's tell him how wrong he was.
Yes,
With him not here.
My argument was it's always been this bad with them infiltrating media, trying to manipulate the public. It's harder to hide now because of social media. And that's what this little documentary.
Well, I think
kinda
too,
showing.
you know, like some of the WikiLeaks and some of the people that have, you know, got access to emails and like some of the handlings have really thrown that out into the public awareness, because it's like, yeah, the internet's just been so disruptive that way. A lot of the super secret stuff is, I mean, the only way to really handle it and try and like, you know, suppress it in any means has been to try to throw you and lump you into the crazy conspiracy person category.
Well, it's what's even crazier is I think they admitted, right, that the CIA played a role in assassinating JFK, right? Am I correct?
I believe they did, yes.
But that's not like front
Like
page
a head
news.
nod for it. Right.
That's not like front page news. Like nobody cares that our one of our agencies played a role. Maybe you can Google that. I think they found them guilty, or they admitted that they played a role in assassinating a U.S. president. And then the speculation is that the reason why they did that was
the people involved are deceased, I believe, right?
Is that what it is?
I think it has to go through, I mean, the Information Act has to, I don't know how many years, like a decade or two.
Yeah, but then they fight it, and then they sent out the report, like the one what they did. What was the one that they came out with, and like 90% of everything was blacked out. Like here's what we can show you.
Well, that was from Pfizer.
That was the one.
That was
There
a
you go.
whole different animal that
Yeah.
we're still going to find out what truly happened in terms of numbers and all that. And probably the next, I don't know,
We won't
5
find
to
out.
10 years.
Yeah, I know. What does it say, Doug?
So I don't think there's definitive proof.
Okay.
But according to RFK Jr., there's overwhelming evidence that they were
Okay.
involved.
Okay.
Again,
I do know that there was a civil lawsuit that the family of Martin Luther King
Yes.
they won,
Mm-hmm.
and they won in court because they proved in court, or they won the lawsuit that the CIA assassinated Martin Luther King. So that one happened. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. Vaccines, by the way, Doug. I'm glad you brought
Yeah.
that up. Thank you for the transition.
yeah.
Did you guys
Happy to
know a
help.
study?
We're off to a good start.
This is good, dude.
Yeah.
Are we gonna get kicked off in 2 episodes?
Yeah.
I know.
Well,
Let's
go out with a bang.
let's see.
You know, that's
So
what
I
Adam
pulled,
always said.
I pulled something up. I gotta look for it. So there was a study that came out. I'm gonna pull it up right now. Oh, here we go. This is now in mainstream news, right? COVID vaccines could be partly to blame for the rise in excess deaths since the pandemic. Some scientists have suggested. So researchers from the Netherlands analyzed data from 47 Western countries and discovered that there had been more than 3 million excess deaths since 2020, with the trend continuing despite the rollout of vaccines and containment measures. They said the unprecedented figures raised serious concerns and called on governments to fully investigate the underlying causes, including possible vaccine harms. So they're now saying that maybe the vaccine played a role in some of these excess deaths, because we see this across the board.
So they're mentioning the unmentionable.
They are, because the argument before, and I'm sure this played a role too, the argument before was that the lockdowns, the excess depression, anxiety, suicides, drug overdoses, that maybe resulted from the stress and anxiety and the social, isolation of all that, which I'm sure. I'm sure played a role, right? People lost their businesses.
Yeah.
People were isolated, which, by the way, a lot of people, this was what really made me mad during that period of time, because my grandparents, this is when my grandfather was alive. My grandparents, during that period of time, everybody's so scared that nobody went to visit my grandparents for, I forgot how long it was, like 5 months. We would drop food off at the door. We'd, say hi to them through FaceTime. And I remember when everybody just said, F it. Even though everybody's saying, don't meet up, my family finally got fed up and we're like, screw it. And I remember their health declined so much in that 4-month period or something, because they're vulnerable, and without people around them, family and friends, and studies show this, your health declines, especially if you're vulnerable. So I'm sure that played a role. But these scientists are saying maybe the vaccines also played a role, which is kind of,
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm surprised that they're finally kind of like at least including that in the conversation, because it was so taboo to bring that as a factor. But it's like you got to factor everything into it, right? And obviously it's a little bit alarming to see the trend with all of these excess amounts of deaths, and you're seeing this worldwide,
especially among young people.
Yeah.
That's the part that's a little bit like, what's going on
Yeah,
here?
like unusual, amounts of, it exceeds the normal.
So here's what worries me with something like that, is that historically, when there's a screw up that big that affected so many people in so many countries, let's say that they come out and they're like, oh my God, it's pretty clear that we hurt a lot of people by forcing people to get vaccines and stuff like that. Let's just say, right, that happened.
Yeah.
Because so many people got it and so many countries were on board, that it becomes a like, oh, we didn't know any better. Like, what are we going to do about it? There's too many people. Like, how can we possibly, make this better type of deal? Because too many people were affected, and it was a big, and I think that's the argument that they're starting to make just in general with the lockdowns and stuff was, hey, we didn't know any better. That was what the data showed.
You kind of knew they were going to, rely on that. Well, so AstraZeneca pulled their vaccine.
Yeah.
Right. So, and now why is the other, Moderna and Pfizer, why haven't they pulled theirs?
I don't know if they've been shown to have like the negatives like the AstraZeneca one. Do you know I had a family member who got injured from that one in Europe? Because that was the one they used in Europe.
Okay.
Yeah, young man too. I think he's I want to say late teens, and he got injured from it. It's pretty crappy.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard again, and that's why it feels so deceptive to me, is because I do know people personally that have been injured and have had issues and reactions as a result. And to just kind of blanket statement like, well, that just doesn't happen, and don't question it, and don't question the science, and that was the messaging. That was my biggest thing. It's like, wait a minute.
Well, and this is top of mind right now, because have you guys seen Fauci getting just grilled in Congress?
Good.
Getting hammered, destroyed. And you mentioned that book that RFK wrote, The Real Anthony Fauci. Who read that? Was that you, Doug, that read that?
Yeah, I didn't read the whole thing, but I started.
Okay. And now I guess it's all accurate. Like everything he says in that book is true.
Well, it has to be.
Otherwise he would be
you'd sue the pants off him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was just reporting, that was the AIDS crisis, right?
I heard that. Is that true?
Yeah. Like he was behind a lot of the medications and treatment.
So isn't that movie The Dallas Buyers Club, right? That's the one with Matthew McConaughey where he plays he's like the cowboy, gets AIDS. The treatment for it was too expensive or not available, and he tried to get it to make it happen. Isn't Fauci wasn't he the bad guy in that? I thought.
I don't know. I didn't see the movie.
Okay. Maybe Google that. So is Fauci the bad guy in the Dallas Buyers Club? Because wasn't he involved at that time in that whole like rollout of these therapies that could have saved people?
Yeah. No, he was. And one of them was, I believe it was taken off the market, but then they brought it back in for that group to treat.
Wow.
Which was horrendous.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. See what that says though, because I'm curious to see if he was the person involved. It would be funny.
I don't think it named him as such.
Okay.
There's some suggestion that it was modeled after him.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But again,
sucks.
You don't know what to believe when you're doing a Google search, for example.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I know that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I gotta bring something up that I think is interesting. So we work with a company called Joy Mode, right? So they make a product. It's like a pre-workout, but for sex. So you take their product, and they have compounds
Prime
and
it up
ingredients.
real good.
Huh?
So you prime it up real good.
Thanks. Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, you said it all creepy, dude. Like,
I know, it's super creepy.
that sounded gross, dude.
What?
You said that to your
Just
wife.
trying to get in the mood.
I'm gonna prime it up. So so
Jeez.
Joy Mode contains components or ingredients that have been shown clinically to boost nitric oxide. Right. So this is how Viagra works, by the way. Viagra or Cialis, these are called PDE5 inhibitors. They inhibit an enzyme that breaks down nitric oxide. So when you take them, boom, boost the nitric oxide. What nitric oxide does is it dilates your blood vessels. So now you got more blood flow. Boom, you get an erection. Or athletes and bodybuilders like nitric oxide because you get better pumps. And in endurance sports, you get better performance as well. They've shown in studies. So Joy Mode is not Viagra, Cialis. It's not prescription. It's natural. But the compounds in there boost nitric oxide and dilate blood vessels. So this is why it's for pre-sex. Although I take it before workouts because I like the pumps that it gives me. So we got messages from women who are like, hey, what about for women? Yes, it would also work for women. So nitric oxide boosters or vasodilators have also been shown in some studies to improve the sexual responsiveness or the pleasure that women get as well. Because a lot of people, maybe a lot of men don't know this, women do, but the female genitalia also engorges when they're aroused. So they kind of get like
lady
an erection.
boners.
They get a lady boner. That's true.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing. And so Joy Mode should work for women as well. I use it for a pre-workout. It's actually one of my favorite. No stimulants either. So I take it with my other pre-workout and I get really good.
Yeah, no, you feel the difference for energy and before a workout. It does. I was a little skeptical in terms of using it for a workout, but yeah, no, it.
What do you mean? Why?
Well, I just
Were you worried?
we'll be doing sets in front of the mirror and tenting out, in front of everybody.
You really like working out though. So.
I do like it makes me excited.
Yes, that's hilarious.
Visibly.
Yeah, no, listen, nitric oxide boosters don't make you horny. Everybody needs to realize, Viagra won't do that. It just gives you better blood flow.
Blood flow. It's pumps. Yeah.
Yeah. See,
exactly.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a good time. So, so I take Joy Mode before my workouts, and then I've tried it before, being with my wife, and you notice an improvement in performance.
Yeah,
for sure. I'm laughing because I'm 10 years old, but it's totally true. Speaking of workouts, by the way, you know how I do. You know what my gauge is, right? When I know I'm getting too big. Do you guys remember what my gauge is?
Snoring.
Yeah, dude. So I got to drop it down again.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So I was
getting too beefy.
Well, it causes fights, dude, with my wife. So and by the way, I do a lot of shit to not snore.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to send a pic. My wife took a picture of me. I'm not going to post it.
Okay, wait, Doug, how bad is his snoring? Because you sleep probably the most out of the four of us with Sal.
That sounds kind of weird.
I know.
But, yeah, I mean, there's some snoring going on. Yeah, there's some snoring going on.
Is it really bad or is it like,
It's not the worst I've heard.
Really?
No, my grandfather, man, he could out snore anybody.
Damn, you're
like the
comparing
wall
me.
shake and everything?
You're
Yeah,
comparing
seriously.
me to a grandfather snorer?
Well, my grandparents had like this trailer, and I had to stay a night in the trailer with them. And boy, I couldn't sleep a bit. And I was like, 8 years old.
Yeah.
But I couldn't sleep. Little kids, they can sleep anywhere, right?
Yeah.
But I couldn't. My grandpa snored.
Yeah, but you
too hot.
sleep though when we're in the same room. So
Yeah,
my
I
snoring
sleep.
doesn't keep you up.
I sleep. Yeah.
You got to just sleep first. That's everything, right?
Like if you sleep first, the other person. Then.
Usually, yeah.
So here's what I do already. It's already what I do, okay? I have a mouth guard I wear, and what it does, it pulls my lower jaw forward. So I'm already like this. It's uncomfortable as shit, but whatever. I wear it anyway, so I don't have to snore as much. Then over that, I put mouth tape on top of it. So mouth guard, mouth tape. And then I sleep propped up a little bit. So I'm already doing all this stuff. So
ball gag too? Or
no.
I mean, might as well.
No, that's different.
Okay.
That'd be weird if you fell asleep with it.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh God.
you know
what that reminds me of was Pulp
I got
Fiction.
too much of a visual there.
Pulp Fiction. That was the first and only time I've ever seen. I didn't even know they existed until that movie, and it traumatized me. Did I tell you guys? I
that
watched
movie was
it.
horrible.
Did I tell you I watched that movie? My 14-year-old daughter totally
No.
forgot. Totally forgot.
You forgot about the main scene,
Bro.
Yeah.
They get in that part where Yeah, dude.
Yeah, no.
Get the GIMP. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, honey,
Ugh.
you got it. Yeah. Ugh.
Brutal.
Yeah. But of course, she went and watched it anyway.
What's the follow-up? Deliverance?
No, I never watched that.
Oh, please don't.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
don't
won't
watch that. Dude.
Anyway, so I got all this stuff on, and I'm, but if my body weight creeps up above 215, which, I know it's my ego, and I know I got issues. I talk about this on the podcast. I definitely still struggle with my relationship to exercise and my body. It's still a struggle. The podcast helps a lot because I talk to other people, so it's hard not to hear myself. But I know it's not healthy, right? There's a certain point where dude,
you like being big and jacked.
I like it, dude. I like it. Does it feel good? My ego likes it, but I'm not as mobile.
Yeah, I was gonna say your mobility. Like, how's all that?
I mean, I snore more. Yeah. I'm sure it's not. I know it's not healthy, right? I'd probably be healthier if I lost 10, 15 pounds of lean body mass. But I like being jacked. I like the, whatever.
You know what's funny about it? I was thinking about it because I'm the same. Like and you guys give me shit all the time about being fat, which is great because it keeps me in check. Because I like being mass. Like I like having mass.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really care if it's like chiseled mass.
Yeah. You just want to be big?
Yeah, I just want to be big.
Yeah.
Like I've always, even as a kid, I'm like, let's get big.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that a lot of kids don't have that sense anymore. Like there's just no urgency. Like this was my experience when I was like coaching kids.
We need to bring back insecurities.
Yes.
Make these kids
make it feel bad about like being tiny. No, we don't need that. I just mean like I want to see it. I want to see them like, I want to get after. I want to get bigger. Stop being so wafy. You know?
Wow. You're a great coach.
Yeah.
When did your body images start, Johnny?
Well, their parents.
I had this football coach, Coach Andrews. I thought it was normal. We kept calling me wafy.
I sneeze and you fall over. Like, what do you want me to say?
Oh my God.
Be tougher.
Well, so anyway, so I know that. So here's what I did. I'm like, okay, if I stay lean and get bigger, then I'm okay, right? As long as I don't gain too much body fat. And I'm lean. I'm probably single digit, but I have too much muscle, and I'm pushing the peptides and everything else. And I like it, but I started snoring. So we're in bed the other night, and my wife, I don't know what it is. But if you wake me up as I'm falling asleep, even though I'm the one that's snoring, it's my fault, but my logic is not there.
It's like an anger button.
I don't have logic. Yeah. It's just you wake me up.
You're not alone in that though.
And she does it gently. She's not an asshole about it. She's like, honey, you're snoring. Yeah. And it's just fucking, I feel rage, right? And I roll over. She did 3 times in a row. Okay.
Yeah. Finally
went to sleep or whatever, but I woke up with that annoyance, like, oh, you woke me up or whatever. So we get in a fight about it, and she's right, it's my bad. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna start losing some weight, so I'm trying to cut down a little bit.
That's like the only thing.
There's nothing
the only thing left you can do.
What am I gonna do
physically? Yeah, because it's out of your control.
Yeah, dude,
I know,
sucks.
That is one of those. That's a rough one because I get her perspective, but too, it's like, especially if you're falling asleep, like and then you get interrupted. Now you're not going to have that.
Now we're both not sleeping.
Yeah, that quality sleep. No. Yeah, it's brutal.
No, man, it makes me so mad, but I feel bad. So then what happened is the other night. So that happened. We got in a fight over it, and I apologized to her. I'm like, oh no. And then she goes, I'm going to sleep in the guest room, and I hate that. I don't like sleeping in a separate room with my wife. I don't know what it is. I have something about it. It feels like terrible, even though she's right. And we both get better sleep for a night. But I'm like, no, honey. I'm like, you should hear the conversation. I'm like, listen, babe, I promise you, I won't snore. She's like, you're going to snore. I'm like, listen, if I snore and you just wake me up once, I'll go downstairs. She goes, I'm not walking into that hell again. I know what happens when I wake you up. So I'm like, oh. So we had to sleep in separate rooms. So I got up and I'm like, all right, dude, I got to start the cut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
See, so have you ever gone to a hotel room and then they messed up and they give you like 2 beds and then you're just like, I guess we'll just do that. And like, this happened with me and Courtney. And,
really?
Yeah. And so we had 2 different beds and we both slept and we woke up and like, oh my God, that was the best sleep I've ever had in my life. And I was like checking myself. I'm like, I don't know if I could go full 50s and like do the, the separate beds thing. We have to get like an even bigger bed. So we're just,
what do you guys have? Do you guys have Cal King?
Yeah.
Those are so big.
They are big.
So what happens? You guys run into each other or you just shake the bed too much?
I think it's mainly me because when I move, I roll onto my side and like I shift because like my hips get all like, I don't know, they hurt and all that stuff. And so I think I just like jostle her out of like sleep every time.
What's that? What do you Dutch oven her too?
Yeah. That too. It's a problem.
That's terrible.
She'd rather be under different sheets.
Did I tell you? I was on the couch with a blanket or whatever, and you have a blanket, so you let one out. Nobody knows or whatever. My son didn't know any better. He runs over. My 3-year-old. He runs over, lifts up the blanket. Oh, Papa,
it's an unwise. It's like you had it hiding in there.
Oh, sorry, buddy.
Sorry, man. I got you.
Oh God. He's 3.5.
I changed your diapers.
He's 3.5, and he knows he's got my sense of humor. So now a 3.5 year old version of my sense of humor. He likes things that are inappropriate. Mm-hmm. Anything that's inappropriate is hilarious to him. So he likes to. He makes jokes like, "I'll poop on your face." Oh, whatever. And I'm like, I told my wife, I'm like, honey, if he says this in public, people are going to think we're weirdos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, Papa, look, I'm going to poop on your face. I'm looking around like, we don't do that at home.
Hey, we're not in Germany. No, sorry, Germans. It's a whole category.
Why is that a thing?
I don't know.
Sorry.
Scheiser videos is
Sorry.
a thing. Don't Google it. Don't Google it.
Oh, that's terrible. What'd you say?
Where's Adam when we need it? He calm me down.
I know. He brings
it just
down.
comes out.
Hey, I want to say this so we have one of our sponsors. I got the paper here. This is This is cool, by the way. We talked, so NASM, we work with NASM. They're like the premier personal training certification course. Period, end of story. Like for national certs, they're the best.
Yeah.
And the best cert that I ever got was from NASM in terms of like, how I was able to positively impact my clients and present my value right out the gates. And I've said this many times. In fact, in our course, we talk about this.
Yep.
If you're a trainer and you want to present value right away, you have a goal assessment, you bring someone in, they're not going to lose weight in one session. They're not going to build strength in one session. They're not going to look different in one session. But you can oftentimes alleviate pain immediately through correctional exercise, where someone's back hurt, their knee hurts, whatever, you do some movements, and then afterwards like, oh my God, it feels so much better. If you do that, for me at least, when I did that, it was like, for sure they're going to hire me because I just showed them tremendous value.
Honestly, the best clientele you can ever build is if you can find clients that are in pain and you have answers and you can solve that for them lifelong after that. And it really is like something, a lot of people don't come into the gym like with that intent, but once you start assessing them and you understand some stretches, some mobility practices, some simple ways to strengthen their body to alleviate this constant chronic pain, you're going to have lifers.
Yes, because a lot of people live with chronic pain, maybe not the debilitating type, but I got this knee that hurts. My back always bothers me when I drive too long or whatever. You show them relief in one session. Now, it's not going to be permanent relief, right? But correctional exercise works like that. You can oftentimes, if it's a movement pattern issue or whatever, you can show them some relief right then and there. They're going to hire you. And so the best cert I ever got for that was the correctional exercise specialist cert from NASM. 50% off.
CES, yeah.
50% off when you go through our link and use our code, half off. So instead of paying $8.99, it's $4.49. And then, or you could pay $37 a month and get to see it. But that was the best one I ever had. I mean, I got that one, and that plus working alongside with a physical therapist, like it made me so valuable as a trainer to the point where that's when I started getting a lot of clients that were in the medical field who then referred their patients to me. It was because I was able to help with
that really gave me the why, and it was great because you got educated in terms of how everything, posturally, to get in better alignment and to get things, correct imbalances. But then, taking that knowledge further and then applying it and really learning more, on top of that in terms of like practices, mobility wise, like that's like the basis though, of understanding of how to get somebody to, be in high function again.
Totally. That's how Doug hired me, by the way. Doug hired me to help his back. He did not hire me to get jacked, but that's what happened. He helped his back and he got jacked at the same time.
Yep.
And then, we became business partners as a result.
Hey.
It was all part of the big plan.
Yep.
Anyway, you didn't ask me about my shirt, Justin.
I was just about to, because it's
weird.
awesome. I mean, it's very colorful, and there's guys throwing each other in front of
Judo.
some kind of
like Roman thing or whatever.
Like hip tossed in front of a Roman cathedral.
So my parents went to Sicily. They were there so both my parents are from Sicily, same town, and they went there on vacation. They were there for 5 weeks, which they had a great time, by the way. This was like the best trip they ever had there because it was just the two of them, no kids, no whatever. And they actually went and traveled around the island of Sicily, which, believe it or not, my mom's never done. So she's been there many times. My dad's never, I don't even think my dad's done it. Because they're from that city, that town, and they visit some closer ones, but they never really checked out the whole island.
Oh, wow.
Sicily's beautiful.
Isn't that totally the case?
Yeah, I know.
A lot of times, yeah. When
you're from a place,
in your beautiful place, and like you're only, kind of doing your normal like day-to-day things. You don't really like take that perspective like a vacationer does.
So what was that? What was that series on HBO, Doug, where they were in Sicily? It was Taormina.
Oh yeah, that was White Lotus.
White Lotus. Yeah. So you guys saw that. I remember you guys coming in.
That was beautiful.
Like,
I was like, man, these beaches are amazing.
So I've been to Taormina, but there's other places. There's a place close to Bagheria that we go to all the time. Bagheria is where my family's from, called Cefalu. You can even look it up. Totally beautiful. But there's so many of these places in Sicily where you have these it's just picturesque, right? The beaches are just spectacular. A lot of these beaches, you walk out and the water never goes above your waist, and you can walk out for like it feels like a quarter mile. Like you go way out and people are just wading out in the water, and it's super warm, super clean. Yeah. Of course, the food is amazing. Did you pull it up, Doug? I want Justin to see.
Here it is.
Town. Yeah,
well, this is where we got to go vacation, I guess.
See how some of the houses are built like into this wall of the mountain, and just very old buildings and stuff that are in there. You see like Roman ruins, and look how beautiful that water is. So anyway, they were all over. They loved it. Gorgeous. My dad went and visited his original judo school, that's where the shirt's from.
Oh, no way.
So he did judo as a teenager. Only did it for a couple years. Funny story. He actually, because he didn't have any money, he would work and give money to his mom. This is what he had to work to support his family. And then his mom would give him a little bit every once in a while. And he saved up his money, and then he got a gi on layaway. He actually made payments on a judo gi.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and paid his membership.
Crazy.
And my dad, in a couple years, became really good. Actually went to a huge national tournament in Rome and got first place, and then he ended up stopping because he got married and came to America type of deal. But anyway, he went and visited, and the same judo school that he learned at, his friend who he was training with is now the owner and the main sensei.
Wow. So his friend owns it now.
His friend owns it. Yeah. Great guy. This is his school. But the saying here says, if you love Bagheria, Bagheria loves you back. So it's like a very prideful thing or whatever. And they gave my dad a black belt. So he never got a black belt in judo.
Wow.
But they gave him an official, and he was super proud. So I have a picture of my dad, getting his black belt.
That's
but anyway,
a big honor. Yeah, it's awesome.
The instructor, the main sensei guy, I guess my dad was telling me, he was like, oh my God, he goes, I was so embarrassed. I didn't know what to say. He gave a speech to all the people in the school when he gave my dad the black belt, and he talked shit to everybody. Oh, you guys are pussies compared to this guy. Yeah, dude, he was ripping everybody.
He's like, whoa.
Yeah. He would kick all of your asses back in the day. We need more people like did this whole speech.
Like picks the toughest guy out. Like, hey,
and my dad
teach you a lesson.
My dad was like, I was so embarrassed. I felt so bad for these guys. He's talking crap. And then he gave them the black belt and everything. And so he told my dad, he gave my dad this shirt, and he says, hey, can your son wear the shirt and take a picture of it? So I did.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah,
so
how badass is that?
Yeah, so he could see
your old man
on Mind Pump. That I wore it, but cool stuff. So I saw old pictures of my dad from judo. So they had some over there, and he sent them over to me. Big ass hair, he had and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty cool stuff.
Did he ever do any jujitsu, or is that where he stopped with like judo?
The best stories are from jujitsu. So he did judo, came to America. Didn't really find any judo schools, but also was just too busy working. They were, kind of poor, making it by, had kids, took care of them, whatever. When I was 13, he found a judo school, San Jose Buddhist Judo Club, which is an old judo club. and he signed us up for it as kids.
Are they on San Jose State? I know there was a club.
San Jose
there.
State has judo club.
Okay, that
San
was
Jose
the one
Buddhist is a private.
into.
It's at a Buddhist temple.
Oh, cool.
That school's been around for a long time. San Jose State has got a very highly ranked judo school, but no, we did San Jose Buddhist as kids. This is when I did judo, and then I stopped as I got a little older. Got into lifting weights, fell in love with that. Just did that. Later in my 20s, I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And my dad, being my dad, he loves physical competition, right?
Yeah.
If he didn't have, he's got lots of
So
arthritis.
let me guess. He went to the practices. He saw you guys do your thing, and he's like, "Get me out there."
Oh yeah, dude. So he did judo, and I've said this before. He has inhuman strength. I haven't met. My brother has a little bit of it, but my dad is. So my dad would come, and at the time, let's see, if I'm 27 and doing it, 28, he's 49, 50, almost 50, right? So he comes in, no training or whatever. He hadn't done judo since he was younger, and he signs up for jiu-jitsu, starts doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And quickly he developed the nickname Iron Man because they like, dude, when he grips your gi or holds you, they're like, we don't know.
You gotta get the jaws of life to break free.
Yeah, they're like, we don't understand. Like, I remember he went against one of the black belts there, and the black belt was teaching how to break grips because there's a technique on how to break a guy's grip if he's got a good grip on you. Because with the gi, you can get some advantages by getting the right grips. Mm-hmm. So he's doing this technique on my dad, and he can't get my dad's grip off. And then finally he puts his foot on. He's like trying to kick him off, and he rips the gi.
Oh wow!
And he starts laughing. He goes, "I don't understand where this guy gets this." There was one dude that came to the class that was he was a Canadian pro football player, and he wanted to do judo. And he was a 320 pound, big, strong, agile guy. Like athletics. I mean, you were this guy, like big and agile. And we used to have no gi Sundays. So Sundays you could go in no gi and you could just roll and practice. Anyway, this big dude sees my dad and he goes, "Hey, I heard you knew judo." Now my dad's a 180 pound guy, so he's not 320 pounds or whatever. He goes, "I heard you do judo." He goes, "Can we practice throws?" He says that to my dad. So my dad's like, "Sure, no problem." So we're all watching, and he's trying to get a hold of my dad because he wants to throw him. My dad knows judo, so he's got good technique. And they're going back and forth. Nobody's doing anything. And then the guy reaches out to grab my dad's wrist. And so my dad, all he does is he grabs the guy's hand and he cranks his wrist back. And the guy tapped out. And everybody was dying of laughter. Yeah. And he looks and the guy shakes his head. He goes, "I don't understand this old man strength thing. I don't get it." He goes, "What'd you do to my head?" My dad's like, "I just crushed your fingers."
That's funny, dude. He just embodies that old man strength, dude.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Anyway, it's a good time. It was fun. So, but he wants to do it still, but he's got too much.
Yeah.
He's got arthritis up and down his back and
it's funny. I have such the opposite story about my dad. But my dad was so he was very blessed in the sense that he got all the size. Like in 6th grade, he was 6 foot. And
6th grade?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was still growing but his dad was this smaller guy that was very I just want to worried, a real worry wart because my grandma was always sick and he was kind of taking care of the family and working and whatnot. And my dad was the only child. And so he had to end up doing a lot of stuff to help out. But his dad never let him play football, never let him do the full contact stuff.
Oh, that sucks.
And so he had to play soccer. And I'm like, 6'7" soccer player? What's the point?
There's nothing else.
He played fullback, and so he played at least defense, but he ended up playing for Biola, I believe, and then was at UCLA. But he played a bit of volleyball, but I was like, man, if only I could have had a little bit more of that size and then applied it over to basketball, football, anything in that regard. But yeah, it was just funny because he was always intimidating to everybody else, but never really had to use it.
Was your brother athletic like you?
He was very athletic. My brother actually was an All-American volleyball player.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so in college he was a super stud.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and and I was always like, you know me, like in terms of other sports, I kind of jab at it. And like, so I would like jab at it being like, not like a real sport, volleyball.
God, you're just pissing off so many people.
Yeah. I did that. I already did that to soccer. That's just how I grew up. I was in that group of kids that were kind of assholes. And so, but I started watching him and I would go to his games and like, I was like, oh my God, like he was super talented and like was middle blocker and he'd block everybody's like spike attempts. And then he was real good at spiking, but he was always like a real like skinny frame. Like he never really bulked up or like, I was always trying to get him to bulk up.
Does he do any training now? Does he work out at all now?
He not so much. Like he'll play a little bit of pickup basketball and like, do athletic stuff, like does a little bit of training. I got him to do like symmetry, map symmetry. And so he'll do stuff like that, like bodyweight stuff. But where we really connect is he's really into music. And so he actually started this all on his own at his high school. He's a high school teacher and started a music hour. And so like all these other teachers would come in and they just would kind of jam. They'd have jam sessions. And this kind of turned into like a thing where like any kid that wanted to just bring their instrument and stuff, they go into his room and then they'd jam and they'd make music and they'd end up performing at the end of the year a couple songs,
cool.
In front of everybody. But like, it was just kind of cool because he got a bit of the music bug a little bit later because we both were brought up like learning piano. And so we had to like go to these piano lessons that were like, I don't know, like the most stereotypical, like
hot cross buns.
Dude, yes, like the worst. And it was always with a teacher that was just hated the fact that we didn't put like 100% effort into our practicing and was just always angry. Like I always show up and I'm like, oh, she'd be mad immediately that like I'd get one little note wrong and would chastise us.
Dude, did I ever tell you? So Jessica hired a piano teacher for a little while that came to our house. This is before we had kids. Came to our house to teach her piano, and the piano teacher told her she sucked.
Wow.
Literally told her, like, you're not good at this. You need to be better at this. So Jessica quit.
Like, yeah, that's why.
Like,
obviously, that's why you're supposed to teach
what
me.
kind of a teacher are you?
Oh
Jesus.
my God, dude.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, my brother got all the genetics. I mean, he's a moose. He's a total, like, if he really dedicated himself to, let me put it this way. The fanaticism I have, if I had my brother's genetics, I'd be, 240 pounds shredded. Like that's how big the dude could get. He doesn't work out. He'll go out there and he'll put up 3 plates.
Isn't that the balance? I mean,
that's the force, isn't it?
Seriously, dude.
Yeah.
It's like you get all the genetic gifts and the lottery and all, and you're just like,
yeah.
I'm not, I'm good at that.
That's cool.
I'm just good.
I'll do a workout sometimes.
But you could be great.
Yeah,
You're just like, I'm dying inside.
So frustrating.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, well.
All right. Shout out. I'm going to shout out the book that I'm reading right now that I was talking about. It's called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. John Mark Comer is the author. I'm just started it. So I haven't even read the whole thing, but it's blowing me away. There's a quote in there. You ready to hear the quote? This is a great quote.
Okay.
If the devil can't get you to sin, he'll make you really busy. If you've tried CBD products in the past and were disappointed, it's because they were garbage, truly. There's a company called Ned that makes full spectrum hemp oil products, high in CBD, that you feel, no joke, I'm not making this up, you try it out for yourself. Take some Ned, 30 to 45 minutes later, you really feel it. That's how their products work. They're full spectrum, so you get all the beneficial cannabinoids, and they're very potent. Go check them out. It's the only CBD company we work with. It's the only hemp oil company we work with. Go to helloned.com. That's HELLONED.com/mindpump. Use the code mindpump. Get 15% off. All right, back to the show.
First question is from Richard DeZone. Any suggestions to help build muscle more efficiently if you don't have time to rest at least 2 to 3 minutes between sets and can't go more than 3 days a week to the gym? Can I still build muscle resting 1 minute to 1.5 minutes between sets?
Okay, the short answer is yes, but there's more.
AKA Dick DeZone.
There's more. Wow. There's more to this, right? So number one, yes, you can rest 1.5 minutes and build muscle. A lot of bodybuilders do that. Not a big deal. 90-second rest period, still within that muscle building, strength building phase. However, consider this, right? You could do more exercises and do 1.5 or 1 minute rest periods, or you could do less exercises and do 2 or 3 minute rest periods. Now, the question someone might ask is like, well, is it going to be the same because I'm doing less work, right? I'm doing less exercises, less sets. Not necessarily. Because the rest periods are longer, the load tends to be much higher. And so the volume tends to make up the difference. In other words, if I did 3 sets of 10 reps with 135 pounds on the squat, but I'm resting for, 60 seconds, well, maybe if I rested, 3 minutes, now I could squat 185 pounds or 200 pounds. But rest periods make that big of a difference oftentimes with people's strength. So you're able to lift heavier, even though you're doing less exercises, the heavier weight sometimes is better and makes up the difference. But the answer really is they're both okay. Do less exercises, more rest, or do more exercises with the 1 to 1.5 minute.
Yeah, I think you answered it perfectly. I think it's that first option. It's really to do less exercises and maximize that potential.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is compound lifts are amazing for maximizing your potential output in terms of being able to really build a significant amount of muscle. So if you just organize it in a way where you hit, the main body parts and you get that through compound lifts, you're going to go way further than you would trying to smash all these other exercises in between.
Totally, 100%. But again, to be clear, 1 to 1.5 minutes still falls within that.
Yeah, it's still strength building.
It's still strength building. There's more strength stamina involved, more of the pump, type of deal. 2 or 3 minute rests is going to be more for strength. And I tend to like that more for most people because fatigue tends to mess up people's form, etc.
Well, what do you feel about supersetting, for instance, right? Like you could approach it like that. So if you wanted to then combo 2 together, at least you're kind of being judicious about the time length that you're doing the workout and getting that in. And you could get a nice hypertrophy benefit from that.
You can, and then you could have a longer rest period in between supersets, right? So you did 2 exercises together, either for the same body part or for opposing body parts. That's my favorite way to do a superset. Then you can have a 2 or 3 minute rest because you already did 2 exercises and then go back to the superset. But I change my workouts up all the time around this. I have the same time every day to work out. I never get more than an hour, sometimes as little as 40 minutes. And so my workout can vary greatly depending on the rest period, right? Shorter rest periods, I do more exercises, more sets. Longer rest periods, less exercises, less sets, but more weight. And so I go between both, and I used to do this with clients. They both have benefits. I think the key here is to play with both, but there is no real wrong answer here.
Get into zone.
Next question is from randomly Randy. Is it possible to do too much walking, and could it cause metabolic harm?
These is it possible questions are funny because yeah. Is it likely? No. First of all, metabolic harm. Let's talk about that for a second. I think what we've done is we've labeled the how excess cardio can cause some muscle loss through adaptation or slow down the metabolism as metabolic harm. It's not harm. Your metabolism is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Now, of course, you can overtrain, in which case you can harm your body. But
you can overtrain prancercising.
You can
do a lot.
What's prancercising?
You ever seen that?
No, I haven't.
It's a lot of the you prance around and it's exercising.
Oh, well, yeah, I've never done that before.
So it's a thing.
Yeah, but walking. That's one of the reasons why I like walking so much is today. This may change in 10 years, who knows? But as of right now, most people can still walk with decent technique. It's not going to cause lots of problems. Most people don't need to change into workout clothes to go on a walk. It's very convenient. I love it as a form of activity. It's one of the most underrated, undervalued, yet extremely valuable forms of activity just for improving health and activity. It's phenomenal. Now, can you walk too much? Of course. You can do anything too much, but it's unlikely for most people with walking.
What I always found funny was the fast-paced walkers. What's the point?
So what is that? So what is speed walking? You ever watch the Olympic speed walking? Yeah. How do they make it walking and not running?
A lot of shifting.
Just do a little run.
I think running is when your foot actually comes off the ground. So your feet have to be on the ground at all times.
One foot has to be on the ground at all times.
Well, if you're running, both feet are off the ground. Yeah,
Right.
1 foot. Yeah, obviously both feet can't be on the ground the whole time. That'd be shuffling.
Right. No, thanks. That's not what I meant.
That's good.
But interesting.
Next question is from Moni Collins 99. What is your recommendation for a 13-year-old boy who would like to start strength training? I've been lifting for years and have several of your programs, but I want to make sure what he does is age appropriate and that he begins this journey in the right way.
You know, all of our programs, I was going to say, you cut me off there, 100%, cut me off at the pass. That's got to be the best program to start with for a kid this age, right? Yeah. Because of the body awareness. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you say, Justin? Did you use this with your athletes to get them started? Did you do like body awareness exercises?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, lots of body awareness exercises. I mean, I think for me, the suspension trainer is a big tool that really helped a lot of my especially my kids too, and then other like youth that I would train, at least learn leverage and learn postural positions and how to control. I mean, stability and control are like huge in terms of like how can we start by strengthening that and get a nice stable body position and hold and sustain that position. That's everything in the beginning.
Yeah. So, you know, traditional strength training involves a lot of what are called open chain movements, meaning
open and closed chain.
Yeah, meaning like if I'm doing a press with dumbbells or barbells, I'm moving the weight. Okay. Closed chain movements is I'm moving my body. So it's the difference between a push-up and a bench press, right? Bench press, I'm moving the weight. A push-up, I'm moving my body. Suspension trainer exercises are closed chain for the most part, and that is really good for learning body awareness and stability and posture and proprioceptive ability, which at the age of 13, if you develop this at the age of 13, it will stick with you for the rest of your life. Now, if you don't train this at 13, he could do other exercises, traditional strength training, and they're going to be great as well. But the value they would get from suspension trainers, plus they're appropriate for all levels of fitness. You could train a beginner on a suspension trainer. You could train someone who's advanced. I love starting that. Now from there, then you could go to traditional barbell and dumbbell exercises,
definitely.
like a MAPS anabolic, starting a pre-phase type of deal.
But stick with the core lifts to really emphasize form and technique and take them through that process. Obviously not with a lot of load. Hopefully you went through that process of, you feel confident that they can hold and sustain these positions with their body and anchor themselves. But yeah, start really slow and just it's not about the amount of reps or like the whole workout itself. It's really about that one exercise and trying to master the technique of it.
Yeah, and I love you said that. The most important thing with a 13-year-old when you're training them, I do this for everybody, but especially a 13-year-old, don't train them to fatigue. Don't train them to beat them up, to get them sore. Train them like you're getting them to learn the skill. So it's like, okay, how can I make this suspension trainer body row look perfect? How can I get this assisted Cossack squat with a suspension trainer look perfect, or these W's or this whatever chest press? Get all of their techniques to look perfect. This will develop the best physique, strength, development, reduce the risk of injury. It's the best across the board. The other thing with 13-year-olds, especially boy, is especially if they're skinny, one of those kind of skinny kids, is make sure they get adequate calories and protein.
Huge.
And get good sleep. Especially now, kids these days get terrible sleep because they're in the room on their iPads or iPhones, and they just don't go to sleep. So good sleep, good diet, eat more calories, hit those protein, hit protein targets, and then do a suspension trainer program like MAPS suspension. And this kid's
their progress is astounding.
Oh, it's like every workout they get stronger. It's incredible.
Yeah. Once you put them on the right path, it's like from there the progress it takes leaps.
Next question is from Jay Pirtle. I've just come across the term functional fitness. Have you all heard of this? What is the differences and benefits between traditional lifting and functional fitness?
Have you ever heard of this?
It hasn't been like used as egregiously, I would say, in a while. Like it was like one of those kind of terms that was just thrown out there way too often.
It was a term created by very smart marketers in the fitness space to differentiate a training style from the traditional strength training bodybuilding style. So the claim or the criticism was that bodybuilding training builds muscle, but it does not have carryover into the real world and makes you awkward.
Like
you can't
muscle
move well.
bound sort of theory.
Muscle bound type of deal. So functional fitness is training in a way to where the strength in the gym translates to the field or to the real world. Now there's some truth to this. There's definitely some truth to this. Like you could train with weights in a fashion to where you don't train in different planes of motion. You don't add rotation or lateral movement. You don't work with full ranges of motion. And so then you do reduce your then the strength that you have in the gym doesn't carry over very well to the field or to the real world because you're only really good at doing specific exercises. That being said, like all exercise applied properly, all strength training applied properly will improve your quote unquote functional fitness to a degree, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not working out versus if you work out and you do it right, are you more functionally fit? Yeah, you totally are. That being said, functional fitness tends to encompass things that involve different planes of motion. Plyometrics could be put in there. Rotation, exercises that look more like a sport than they do like a bodybuilding exercise. The emphasis being on how well you move, not just what you look like.
Yeah, I guess you could kind of associate it with more of an athletic-minded style of training, but yeah, to your point, like all strength is going to improve performance. So it depends on what. If you're just training in one plane the whole time and you're just trying to literally pump your muscles up and stick with hypertrophy forever, you're limiting your potential in terms of your overall movement potential, and also strengthening areas of movement and ranges of motion that aren't really getting addressed. So it's even if you're not really into that style of training, it's good to include it because what we do then is we're able to address like some of these ranges of motion that don't get any sort of time where you're going to find yourself in a real world situation, or even if it's in a training situation where you go a little past the range of motion that you're used to and you're really strong in.
And then you get hurt.
And then you get hurt because the thing is, like, if you're not training in that and you're not familiar, and your body will respond aggressively, sometimes too aggressively, which then results in some kind of tear or some kind of injury as a result. So the term, I'm not a real big fan of the term functional fit. It does work because we're addressing the actual function, the motion, the movement, and looking at it from that lens as opposed to just like muscle size and shape and the aesthetic of it. But it's good for everybody. So it's, bodybuilders need to include that in. Also, same on the other side for the functional fitness people, could be going through a hypertrophy phase. Yeah,
totally. I mean, back in the day when this term got popular, everything was about standing on one foot and balancing on.
Yeah, that's where it got ridiculous.
And it just it turned into like a circus show. And I remember thinking like, just barbell squats will make you more functional in the real world than standing on one foot, balancing and, doing this weird exercise, which is true. Mm-hmm. Strength makes you more functional. But like Justin was saying, when you build so much strength, because you've trained for a year or 2 years or 3 years in specific planes of motion, you never move outside of that. It's always the same kind of stuff because you just want to develop the look. You move outside of that, you hurt yourself. You've got all this power in this one direction. You've got very little stability in other directions. Now you go to the park and you go run and play with your kids and you step in a little bit of a hole, or you throw a Frisbee and, my shoulder hurts. What the hell's going on? Or I got to twist and bend over to pick something up and I hurt my back. And this will happen to some very fit looking people because they have these kind of big gaping holes in their training. So you definitely want to train in a way to where you're not missing anything. Am I working front to back, up and down, side to side? Am I rotating and twisting? Do I have some speed training? Is there a little bit of endurance involved
even
in my
for
training?
Just a cycle,
Yes.
just a few months of just devotion. So
totally.
It's not like has to be your entire focus, but it's just beneficial on that level.
Totally. Look, if you like the show, go to mindpumpfree.com and check out our guide for hard gainers. For those of you that have a hard time building muscle, we have a free guide, Hard Gainer Guide. You can also find us on social media. Justin is on Instagram at mindpumpjustin. I'm on Instagram at mindpumpdestefano. And Adam, who will be back soon, is on Instagram at MindPumpAdam.